Good morning or afternoon, depending on the time zone. As Amber mentioned, my name is Catherine Patrone, and I'm going to kick off our presentation. So this is about Forge Your Story, which stands for Focusing on Relationships, Growth, and Engagement on behalf of the John Martinson Honors College at Purdue University. And we're going to talk about how we have partnered with Suitable, the student forward. Marcus just gave us a shout out there. With Suitable, the student engagement app forward company. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into introductions of my colleagues. So again, I'm Catherine Patrone. My responsibility or title in the John Martinson Honors College, Purdue University, is Chief of Staff.
My name is Michael Russell. I'm the Student Community Manager, and I focus on the internal student community, building belonging and relationship maintenance, that kinds of stuff.
And I am Leslie Valiant, and I am the Communications Manager here at John Martinson Honors College.
I might sneak in too right before you get started. I'm Mark. I'm one of the co-founders here at Suitable, and I look forward to speaking with you all today. And I'll just quickly mention, if you have a question, feel free to put it in the chat or use the Q&A pane, and we can see those questions coming in and make sure we address them as we move along here. So look forward to the conversation.
And also I want to give thanks to both Mark and to NCHC for the invitation to present. Today, Purdue, the John Martinson Honors College, is an institutional member of the National Collegiate Honors Council. So a little bit more in terms of the bio sketch of Purdue University's John Martinson Honors College. We are located in West Lafayette, Indiana. So we're approximately 60 miles north of Indianapolis and about 90 miles south and east of Chicago. And we are the public land grant university in the state of Indiana. Our total enrollment as of fall census was about 3,000 students. We are the university's only academic residential college. We were founded in 2013, so next academic year, 2013-2014, we are going to celebrate our 10th anniversary. So if you find yourself in West Lafayette, Indiana next year, please stop by. We'd love to have you celebrate with us. And I'd also note, as terms of when we're looking at our 10th year anniversary, since our founding in 2013, our 3,000 undergraduate student population represents about a 300% growth in our population since 2013. We were designated as a top 20 honors college in the US by College Transitions in 2021. Last year, around this time, we had a name change. That's because we received a very generous donation from Mr. John Martinson. And so the college was renamed to the John Martinson Honors College at Purdue University. The university's mascot is a Boilermaker, and we are a proud member of the Big Ten Conference. I know a lot of times when people hear Big Ten, they think sports and athletics, but also there is the Big Ten Academic Alliance, which has a very active affiliation of honors colleges and programs throughout the Big Ten. Our college is built upon 4 pillars. So on my slide here, you will see the 4 pillars, which are research, community, global and community engagement, leadership development, and interdisciplinary academics. And the 4 pillars are infused throughout the college's co-curricular and curricular offerings. Also, Michael's going to touch upon this later in the presentation, but we also have a set of awards called the Pillar Awards that the students self-nominate. And later this week, we are going to reveal the winners of the 2023 Pillar Award winners. So that's going to happen tomorrow. So there's going to be lots of fanfare surrounding that. And when we were thinking about moving to Suitable, our student engagement platform which we call Forge, which again stands for focusing on relationships, growth, and engagement, we needed to select, well, not needed to, but as part of the process in terms of the development, working with our student success team from Suitable, who I also would like to give a shout out to, Sam Schwartz and Haley Bryant, we created 7 badges. And you'll see in a moment, I'll switch to our competencies, but you'll notice that the badges, how we developed these, they were informed not only by the 4 pillars of the Honors College, but also you'll see nods to the NAES competency. So that's the National Association of Colleges and Employers competency. So you can read our 7 badges here on the slide. And then on the right-hand side, you will see the icons, the badge icons that match up with the different badges. So as I mentioned, with the badges, they're also tied to competencies. And another thing, which I know many of you answer this question on a daily basis, my office happens to be on the route that people take when they're touring the Honors College at Purdue. And right now, since we're all gearing up for May 1, National Candidate Reply Deadline, we have lots of tours happening. And so that's another frequently asked question from parents: what is your value add? So when we were thinking about the value add of the Honors College experience at Purdue, we were looking not only at the 4 pillars that were already infused in the college, but also those nods to those NAES competencies. So when we were designing what was happening in terms of our curriculum in Forge with Suitable, so we've had belonging, equity, and inclusion, career and self-development, community and global engagement, honors together, interdisciplinary academics, leadership development, and research and creative endeavors. So how did this all begin? So how did we decide to adopt Forge? The proprietary name would be Suitable. So in 2016, we had a student-built app for residence hall activities. So this was capturing activities and student engagement that was happening exclusively in the residence halls. And since we started the college in 2013, our dean, Rhonda Phillips, she's very technologically savvy and likes technological solutions. She had asked us to be searching for a technological solution. So at Purdue, the first line of defense is always, what does the university provide us? So what is being provided by Purdue's central IT? So that was our first step, was to review that. So the thing that emerged were swipe cards. And we'll talk in a moment in terms of how that didn't work out particularly well. And also in terms of with the technology solution and being tech savvy with the students with apps, a directive from our dean, and this is in our strategic plan, which is about to launch in the next 2 years for the next 2 weeks for the next 5 years, was from our dean, we needed to support honors students' completion of the Honors College curriculum here in the John Martinson Honors College at Purdue. And then with that, reinforce the 4 pillars of the college through the lenses of belonging, equity, and inclusion, and student growth and development. So as I promised, so previous challenges with the tracking technology. So literally and figuratively, we had data about student engagement in terms of participation and activities and programs was saved in various different formats and in different places. And student enrollment data and assessment reports up to me in the college. We have a full-time dedicated staff member, Jordan Meyer, who's our data manager. So frequently, Jordan and I would be asked to report about how were people engaging with the Honors College outside of the classroom and our co-curricular offerings. Well, because we had things in different formats, there was no way. And another thing that we work on in terms of data enrollment management is making sure that we're validating data and that we're providing high quality data when reporting out. Well, there was no way to validate the data that were in these different formats. Also, the student house grown app, there was no way to export the information into a format that Jordan and I could use in terms of doing analyses. And as you'll see some other things here, we had Qualtrics surveys, we had swipers, many spreadsheets, and I'm talking about many spreadsheet. Also, we had instances where some of my colleagues weren't even tracking attendance or participation at programs and activities. So that was one thing, that moving to a centralized system like Suitable that has other capabilities such as collecting RSVPs, that was something that we were looking for. So transitioning to Suitable. So how did we decide upon a proprietary software product? So through the years, because we started this journey in 2013, we had looked at other products. Things that were very important to us were pricing. So the price point of Suitable also includes the student success team and unlimited servicing. So we don't get charged if we have to reach out if there's an issue. So that was something we were looking for, an all-inclusive pricing structure. Also, our Daniels School of Business had adopted Suitable 2 years prior. So key to that was the single sign-on, so that students they're able to use their Purdue credentials. So the Daniels School of Business had paved the way for that. And that was something that was very important to us and was key in our decision-making in terms of bringing on a new vendor. We had to be able to have a product that could work with our existing student app. So we knew that we were going to sunset the student app, but we also had to have a product that we could export information out of that could be then seamlessly imported into Suitable. And also this continuity of student workers each year. So this homegrown student app began literally as a passion project as one of our RAs in the Honors Residence Hall. So it was a student paraprofessional who was in electrical and computer engineering. And so this was something at the time, the university residences curriculum focused on students' passion projects. This was his, but there was no sustainability or succession plan in place. So after this young man moved on and graduated, I said every year at the start of the school, it was a wink and a prayer if we were going to have students that were interested that could keep it going. And then lastly, it's not on my slide here, but we had to look to scale. So we needed a product that could scale. So when the homegrown app first started, we had about 800 end users. As you all saw on our first slide, we're now serving approximately 3,000 students. So we had to have a product that could go to scale, and Suitable fit that bill. All right, Leslie.
Hi, yeah, so I'm going to talk a little bit about just kind of how we implemented the app with our students and how we communicated to them ways that they could get involved with the app. So to begin, the fall semester of 22, we introduced Forge Your Story to our first year students at their orientation, which takes place the weekend before classes start. And they were all able to get a little bit of background info on the app and download it, log in, and sort of start using it. It was also introduced in the residence halls where they lived. Their RAs were helping, establish them on the app and get them interested in competitions with other students and just tracking their participation in things around the college. That was primarily what the introduction of the app was the first semester. And that was sort of our soft launch of Forge Your Story. But as we went along in that first semester, we learned a lot from it. We added a lot of different things to it. We've added a lot of events and tasks in each of the competency areas and such. And so the spring semester of 23, so the one that we're about to end here now, we did another launch communication plan to introduce the app again to all of our students. We sent out, we did a social media campaign. We did an email campaign. And before we did those, we kind of sat down as a team and took a really good look at how we thought the app was valuable to our students, those who were already using it, and then to those who weren't quite using it yet, how we communicate to them what the benefits of using it would be and how and what value it would present for them. And we nailed down some key benefits that we thought were really important to communicate to the students. And with those key benefits, that's kind of how we tailored our communication plan. And so, again, we did a social media campaign, we did an email campaign. We sent to first-year students saying, hey, if you downloaded the app but you're not yet using it, here are some reasons, or here's some things you can do on the app. And then to those upper division students who hadn't even downloaded it yet, we again introduced them to the benefits, said, here's some quick links to download the app, go ahead and get started, it's not too late. And then we also, just around our buildings, had some print material that you can see here on this slide. The first one there in the square is just simple coasters that we put around the buildings on tables where the students gather. And it's two-sided. One side is the link to download the app on Apple on the App Store, and then the other side is the Google Play Store link. And then the graphic to the right here, the far right, is a poster that we had around our buildings. Just those first three lines, the earn rewards and browse events. Those are the main benefits that the students kind of are attracted to, but then there at the bottom, it also lists a lot of the other benefits that we thought would be valuable to the students to know. And then again, the quick links to download. So that was sort of our first round of, or our first and second round of communication. And then in addition, Michael's going to talk about this further, but I think he has done a lot to introduce the app to our faculty and our staff, and getting buy-in from them so that they can also communicate to the students how we're using it and how it can align with the coursework they're doing. He's had some office hours and one-on-one meetings with faculty, and we have also formed a team. The three of us are part of course, and then we have a few other staff members who are our staff members in our college who are working with our students on a regular basis. So they're really integrated into the community of our college, and they're really able to bring a lot to our team and help us establish the best ways that this can get used by our students. And the team also just works on messaging, creating new badges and rewards for the students as they progress through their time here. And again, just discussing different ways we can implement it to be best utilized for the students, the staff, and the faculty. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Michael.
So like the house competition, right, was a residential competition. So students who are living in our buildings or on in campus residences would all compete. And this happened in the previous app. And we were able to move it over into Suitable with their leaderboard system. And so we have 5 different houses, each being a different floor, and the students would attend events, work on various things to earn points to compete for the House Cup, which you can see in the top right. So we were able to set it up so that way only students who are living in the buildings would be competing to those specific leaderboards. And so as we kind of set that up, we leaned in and started leveraging the leaderboard to congratulate students via social media and via email of like, hey, you're really leaning into the points. You have 700 after 2 months, keep going, what do you like about the thing? And then recently we had the TEDx Purdue Terrarium conference. And so I went through and I identified who are our top 5 students who are first year, second year, third year, fourth year, and messaged them individually. And I was like, hey, I got some tickets, you want to go? And the students who were the most engaged were like, absolutely, I want to go do that thing. And I was like, all right, come to my office. We got this figured out. So right now, the future of the leaderboard is a little uncertain. I'm not sure how to like expand it, like, because right now we have some elements that are working, but I'm wanting to get to a point where I can have second, third, and fourth years, because those students primarily don't live in residences. They live off campus, how to like integrate them a little bit heavier into it. So one thing that I did want to add to this, this message, or not message, this recording, is that our team assembled our Suitable implementation over a summer and launched in August. Like we started May or so and got everything put together and launched. So we really focused just on that first year experience. And now we're going to have another summer where we can really expand and connect. So that's one of those things. So far, what's worked really well is connecting with faculty and staff one-on-one, right? So at the very beginning, I had open office hours for faculty and staff. I had a couple of people trickle in, but they were mainly my peers who were building out the application, which was really valuable. And then I started setting coffee dates with all the faculty and all the other staff that needed to know what was going on, to really help like just demystify what was happening, right? Like, why is this important? How can this be useful? So that has been able to get a lot of buy-in into, oh, well, why don't we have the mentoring system go through this as well? And why don't, oh, we could do this, the research fellowship, we could have that be connected here as well. So there's a lot of interesting things that are moving along. I really think that the one-on-one conversations that I can start by initiating tailored feedback. So on the right here is a submission. So a student filled out this, and I think it was in regards to research, and they were able to write down their reflection of this experience. And then what we're able to do is I'm able to write a custom message to the student saying, you know, congratulations on doing this thing. Oh, you might be interested in this fellowship, or we might be able to get funding for this, or being able to like really target customized information and signing off with my name, so that way students feel that connection. And then we also incorporated Suitable into all of our performance evaluations. So I really wanted to make sure that the administration knew like that all of us are actively participating, and this is not just on one individual. Like there's a lot that goes into it, particularly with establishing the architecture, the badges and pathways, and how can we keep students engaged for longer periods of time. So a couple of quick highlights. Some students really like the variety of ways to earn points. So we have events, right? So the students come to a thing, they scan a QR code, and they get their points that way. There's also asynchronous tasks, right? Like look at the NSF REU website, find a thing, that's the National NSF, National Science Foundation Research Experiences for Undergrads. Go to that website, find a program that's interesting to you, and take a screenshot of it and just send it to me, right? So then that way they know that these funding mechanisms exist for their summer research, right? So they don't have to apply or do it. It's just getting those little itty bitty bits, making sure that they're connected to the right things earlier rather than later. Some students really like the fact that they can submit multiple times. So we have so every week a time window opens where they can meet with their RA and talk about you know, whatever the RA wants to do, right? Like if it's like bauble with their RA or whatever, you know. So we had our first celebration, which was the donuts with the dean, and here's a little picture towards the end of the meeting. And we were able to solicit some input to the students who really bought in. And I've had 4 other events, and everyone at this table was at all of those events. So we had bowling, we also had a pizza party, we've had I can't remember the last one right now, but these 3 students here were all at those, which was wonderful, which helped us with increased awareness of programming, right? So Suitable, it's all of our programs and events are stored in one location, right? There's like this live feed that updates in real time of what is happening in the college. So if a student's like, oh, I need, like this event, this student club, their meeting got canceled. What else is happening tonight? Because now I have an extra hour or something like that. This is in addition to the Honors News Network. So the HNN comes out every Monday, and it has a bunch of flyers and just information of how the students can get involved. So that's like the official communication stream. And then suitable students can go in and see what else is happening that might not have made the deadline to get into the HNN or something like that. So we've also identified some areas for improvement and efficiency as the year has gone by to really help make sure that all of our faculty and staff are putting their events into the program. So what's happening next, right? So we're working on making new incentives and milestones for recognition. So that way, as students are working towards their honors college completion, there's little steps that they're making. Oh, they got their first 3 credits of honors coursework. They submitted their scholarly project proposal, right? So we have all these little baby steps to help the students see the scaffolding of I'm getting closer, instead of it going from 0% complete to 100%. They can see that they're moving in that direction. We're working on that. Professional endorsements. So the leadership unit is looking at whenever a student earns a particular badge, being able to go in and endorse them on LinkedIn for, yes, they have teamwork, leadership capacity, right? Or writing a review, or like, this student did this thing. So whenever they're applying for jobs, people can see a conversation going with them and a faculty member or something like that. We're working on adding a student to the JMHC Suitable Committee, which has been a little bit more difficult than I would like to admit, because we started adding them after spring break. And so next year, I'm going to get in there a little bit earlier and get a hold of some people. I have a couple of individuals who have joined my the Honors Leadership Council, who are big advocates of Suitable. So I'm excited to see what we can do with that. We've interviewed and highlighted some active students and put that on social media. We are working on, or we're thinking about adding a Suitable Award to the Pillar Awards, which is, we talked about a little bit earlier, that each year students can apply to one of the Pillar Awards, and we're thinking about how can we pull Suitable into that to like engagement outside of those scopes. We are getting ready to launch a badge menu, which I'm so very excited about. We're going to be having like a menu you would get at a diner that has all of the badges listed of like, here's the leadership courses, here's the BEI research, right? So students can kind of pick and choose what they want to do. And then that also gives us insight into, okay, this first year student just completed this badge for the environment or this badge for research. We should probably get them connected to the right people, right? Get them to Dr. Gross or get them to some kind of research internship, have those conversations with that student earlier because they're already self-selecting into those groups. And then we're also toying around with some mini badges. So one that I'm working on for this summer is community connected, where like our students are gonna go all over the place, right? They might be going home to their hometown, they might be going to an internship somewhere else. But this badge is basically focused around volunteering in the community and really making connections where you are, instead of going to your job and then back to your house and then going to your job and then back to your house, but reaching out and establishing community earlier. So we have a couple of other asynchronous badges we're thinking about too that aren't tied to events for students to go to. So our future goals is to really refine the communication strategy, because like I said, we really focus on the first year, right? And now we're trying to like, okay, how do we get the students to come back into this? how do we get new students into it, and like making sure that the streams are operating in parallel, and not like conflicting with each other in some capacity. And then being able to look at our data, right? Like what is working, what's not working, and like maybe we need to make some decisions because of that. Cultural integration. We're really wanting to figure out how to connect the Brightspace, which is our learning management software, and possibly connecting that into some of the honors coursework. That's something that's like on the shelf. It hasn't started being unpacked yet. But that's something that is possible, I know, with other institutions. And then I've been thinking about how do we pull in some other certifications to attach onto our micro credentials. So that way, like, oh, there's this Microsoft Excel master's coursework that is made by Microsoft, and you can get an endorsement on LinkedIn. What are those things that exist at Purdue, but also online, that we could maybe highlight for some students of like, hey, this is something that could actually be valuable for you. So there's some coding coursework at Purdue that's free of charge for anybody, not just engineers. And then there's some other coursework that I know my previous students have really enjoyed it. And I'm just like, how can I highlight these things so students find out about them earlier instead of finding out about it from me whenever they're in their second semester or their third semester. And then the key takeaways. So we really, whenever you're trying to implement Suitable, you really need to make sure that it's connected to someone's position, right? Like it needs to be in someone's wheelhouse, and other people need to be attached to that, right? So that way it's on someone's plate and it can't get left behind, because in universities, we all know that like, oh, this thing needs to happen. Oh, and this thing needs to happen, and this thing, and then the pile gets higher and higher. And then another really big one is launch when you're not in a giant staffing transition. So my unit, which I supervised 2 individuals, we were all, well, they weren't hired yet, and I was brand new. I started in September, and Suitable had already been operating in August, right? And so I kind of came in and I was like, all right, let's wrangle it down, figure out how to make it work. And then I hired 2 people in January, and now we're like, oh, okay, we're fully staffed, and now we can keep kind of going. Not saying that this falls in my, like, only in my unit, but like trying to figure out all the different staffing transitions, because the honors call the JMHC was also in a giant hiring spree, right? Because we got that donation from John Martinson. And so we were like, all right, all these new people coming in, and also, oh, get Suitable going, right? It was kind of fun. And then the next thing is the fast track for launch and implementation. Oh, definitely, I encourage people to get faculty input as soon as possible, right? If you're wanting to launch Suitable, definitely pull in people and hold their feet to the fire of not like, hypothetically, if this happens, like, no, this is happening and this is how it is, right? Like, these are the steps. How can we build these things together? It was really, it would be some of my feedback or recommendations for people who are trying to start. So I think with that, I'm gonna turn it over and open it up to some questions. If anybody has any.
Yeah, and I can break the ice, I guess, for the Q&A, because I think one question that might be great to talk about is for the competency areas, what drove you to choose those, or what factors were considered, and do you have any more that you might add, or is there any changes coming to them?
I'm gonna stop sharing so I can see other people, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So I'll start out in terms of answering that question. So we were taking guidance in terms of best practices from our Suitable student success team. So we were advised in terms of the best practice starting off, since we were in year 1 of launch, that 5 to 7 competencies is reasonable in terms of when you're trying to get things off the ground and going. So we were using that best practice and then looking at what were the pillars of the Honors College, because that was from our dean, that we had to make sure that the pillars were represented in the competencies. And then back to that question, what's the value add of honors education at your institution? And so that's why we then looked also to those NAES competencies, the National Association of Colleges and Employers, in terms of thinking about, okay, well, what are we trying to set people up for success after Purdue? So whether that's direct entry into the workforce or if that's going on to graduate or professional school.
Great, thank you. Carolyn, do you have a question? Nope. Oh, okay. Anyone have a question out there? Feel free to, I guess, just come on audio and video or submit it into the chat. I can throw another one out there too if still need an icebreaker, but when you talk about getting the faculty introduced to the app, how did that go, or what was the process like for that? Because that's a popular question we get a lot at Suitable.
Yeah, so for me, a lot of that was wrangling them down and having coffee with each one of them one-on-one. So before I was here, or before I was in this role, there was also like a staff meeting where we kind of like had like different breakout groups of like, what does leadership development look like in the coming years? What does this look like in the coming years? And Suitable was also one of those. And so I'm not sure who attended or what was said in those conversations, but the fact is we weren't able to have everybody in each of those 3 different things because there just wasn't enough time, right? And so being able to really like sit down and be like, okay, so what is the program? What are the things that you do for the college? And how can we like scaffold that onto Suitable if it makes sense? And maybe it doesn't make sense, and maybe we don't need to. But is there a way for us to kind of like put things together to make all of our lives a little easier and store our information in one location?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. It's always a topic of conversation. So that is you've gone above and beyond. If you've taken them each out to coffee, that's pretty nice.
And I'll also chime in, since we're among fellow NCHC institutional members, we did have, I mean, there were pockets of resistance from some individuals. I mean, anytime you launch something new, and I'm going to put on my data management and assessment hat, but we at Purdue are frequently asked to report out about all kinds of metrics, and those come from my unit. And my thing is, we have to be providing high quality data that's been validated anytime it's leaving this college, and particularly when it's going to the board of trustees, the provost, and the president's office. And because we didn't have another system, and the absence of that, I said, look, this is what we have, this is what we need to use.
Yeah, it's a good point too. Thank you. Looks like Rick has a question. What percentage of your 3,000 students are using the app or using it the way you want to see it used? Thank you, Rick.
So,
NCH. Oh yeah, Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, so for the past year, we're right at about 48% of users. And that's pretty good considering we focus just on first year students, right? And so as we have been kind of like looking to expand, we've been really trying to figure out how do we keep students involved, right? And how do we keep them attached, right? So historically in the past, with a student built app that has been retired, we the students were really thinking about it as this is the app that I use because I live in this building and I live on campus as a first year student. And so I've been talking with the RAs to try to get that switched, right? Of like, no, this is an honors app. This is to help you get connected and continue to see resources from the Honors College, because we spend so much time, energy, resource, brain power that students are just kind of leaving it there, right? And they're like, oh, I'll get all of my training from my academic school. And it's like, yeah, you're definitely going to get like the lab skills and all that kinds of stuff. But also there's a lot of like the intersectional, interdisciplinary academics, right? And like being able to sell yourself and your resume, all of that kinds of stuff. We have a lot of support that I really want to make sure that the students are constantly aware of instead of walking away from that app. So I think that was a long-winded answer, but we're about 48% for the past year's average.
And also with my data hat on, that to me was a very important metric to capture, because that's our baseline data of having this centralized system. And prior to this, we had no baseline data that I could report to the executive offices.
Yeah, and we also work with you all to help pull any reporting you might need or get any data together as well. So yeah, if there's any way we can be useful too going forward, we're happy to do it.
I have something quick to add also, just from the comm perspective. When we have announcements go out about, hey, you're getting, a certain number of active users are getting close to earning a reward, we see each time we've seen an uptick in activity on the app. Michael has more data on that, but that's something to keep in mind too, that I think actively communicating with the students is important to have their activity on it continuous, so they know that there's somebody, keeping up with it and all that.
Yeah, and we were able to send push notifications out of like, hey, this thing's happening, and you can really target it down to students who like, this student has received this badge. Okay, send them this message, they can come get their pizza. Or this student hasn't yet completed this badge and they're 75% of the way there. Hey, you got 3 weeks left, earn some points and you can get a branded mug, or you can get a tote or whatever. So the push notification system has really been helpful. And I also around Halloween sent out a notification that was just like, hey y'all, if anyone sees this, I got candy in my office and you can come till 5 o'clock, right? And then just like come by, they got some Reese's because like high quality candy, and just chat with them for a couple of seconds, right? Like you're a first year student, it's Halloween, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, so that, but absolutely the having you're working on this progression towards this reward, or there are like tangible things associated with these badges, is really helpful.
Yeah, king size candy bars at Halloween, that could be a real draw. Okay, and then I guess if there are no other questions, we have one more here. Yeah, Adam, are you all going back and forth with Mark when you see potential changes for your implementation? There's a couple questions here. Or are you able to adjust the interface and use the app in-house? Michael, this might tie into how you want to expand the app and how this process is done.
Oh yeah, so sorry, I my brain was spinning. But yes, I message Suitable all the time of just like, hey, I think that like this would be really helpful. What do you think about it? And Sam is like, oh, that would be really helpful, and like sends it over to their development team. And there have been a couple of things that have been developed since. Like, what was it? I was asking for a specific kind of data, and she's like, oh yeah, here, and she sent me over like an automatic spreadsheet, right, of just like basically cut the data that you export, drop it in here, and all the formulas are already there. So there's a couple of those kinds of things that have been really, really helpful.
And also I would follow up the folks that are on our internal suitable team. We have what's called admin access to the platform. So Sam and Haley, if we get stuck and there's something that we can't do, but also the intent is that those on the admin team, that it's self-service. So we go in there and make adjustments, but we're about 9 months into this. And some of us, I'm an Xer, so I'm less technologically savvy, but I still can go in there and do things without screwing up the platform too much.
And we also meet with Sam and Haley every other week. And that's also an opportunity for us to discuss anything that comes up. And we have several times. We adjusted our leaderboard early on and several things like that, that we've just been able to talk through with them, and they help us find solutions.
Yeah, we are constantly trying to provide any best practices we can or advice if it is solicited. I'm not sure if you all have been to any, but we do host like training sessions and things of that nature for our entire partner base. So that way, sometimes if you need to do something really quick, you might just hop onto that and figure out how to do it on a training session too. But we do offer routine workshops, if you will, for the partners that train them on different functions of the app.
Yes, Angela hosted a end of the year data processing workshop that was really helpful. And I got some insight into like 97% of my first year students have opened the app, which is interesting. So I could kind of see like, oh, like a lot of my first year students, and then my second year students, and then my third year students, and my fourth year students, right? And just to kind of see like, oh, how does this kind of look? What does that work like? So they have all kinds of trainings throughout the year for sure.
And we have another question from Adalis, and this one's long. I'm gonna try to sum it up because it's a bit long to read, but essentially about the push notifications and how you've what your experience has been managing them and keeping students engaged with all of the different types of notifications they're getting from various sources around the college. And students get a lot of information through email and other platforms, but would love to know how you've handled this communication piece.
So one of the things with the push notifications is the students have to have them turned on. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is to send them earlier rather than later. So you can program and like have a timed release, right? So like, okay, in 3 weeks, I want this notification to go out at 2:28 because that's a good time for whatever reason. And you can have it going like set ahead of time. But what we've done is extend the amount of time. So like basically having the little notification bubble up for like 3 or 4 days before action is actually needed, right? So don't forget that this pizza party is happening on Friday, the 18th, and that goes out on the 14th, right? So that way the students like, oh, you know, by the time they actually open the app, it's one of the first things that they see in their notification center. But there are a lot of other emails and notifications, and that is,
One thing I will say, yeah, that I wanted to ask is as like a add-on to that is, do you use the segmentation ability at all? Because personalizing it and segmenting the message helps you get through to the student versus the same message to every student, you know? Do you use any of that?
Yes, we do a lot of that. So I have not sent a message that went to everybody.
Okay.
Because I want to like really conserve the push notification. So like you earned this badge, come get your reward, those kind of notifications, but it's also coupled with an email. And then the hey, come get candy, that only went to people who are living in the buildings.
Okay.
Because I was like, I don't want a fourth year student to be like, I'm not there, and like swipe it away. So that was something that I really wanted to bring up as well.
Yeah, that's important. We see much higher rates of open and engagement if you can personalize it at all. So that's one way to try to get at the overloading of messaging, is if you can just limit the message to the students who need it versus everyone. So that's good. One question I did want to bring up too, while we still have time, is about your reward strategy and incentives. Maybe could you just touch on that once more? Like, what are the incentives you offer now? And then do you have a vision for more or different ones in the future?
So for this year, we had a couple of different rewards. So if a student reached, I think it was 100 points, they were eligible for a donut party. If they reached 150, they were eligible for a pizza party. 250 was a branded mug. And then I think it was 300 was a tote bag. And that was just like total points. So, hey, students, get involved, connect with the things, get your points. And then if you get them by this date, this is whenever this product is going to be available. So that was the first round of kind of rewards. Going forward, my university residences and I are talking about like what are some of the branding things that we can do in terms of like lanyards or something like that for the students, to maybe get those like smaller gifts, incentives earlier on, for that kinds of stuff. There were some other ideas like business cards, right? Like if you do the industrial roundtable, which is like a career fair. Like if you do this badge before the career fair, we'll give you 20 business cards custom or something like that. You know, those are some of the ideas that we've been working on. And I don't want to put too many ideas out there and then jinx myself of them not coming to reality. But experiences are really important, right? And having the student be feel like they're actively moving towards a definite thing instead of they're moving towards a possible thing, right? So instead of, oh, if you do this by March 1st, you are entered into a raffle to possibly get this other thing or a randomized drawing or whatever. The students really are turned off by that. And they're like, if I'm making progress, I want to make sure I get the thing instead of a possibility of getting it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that might be why you saw the adoption grow beyond first year students. You said the P word, pizza. So if you start offering pizza party, the sophomores and juniors are like, wait a minute, hold on. Why are the freshmen getting free pizza and I'm not? So any other questions out there? Well, we probably have time for one more. All right, going once. Going twice. Okay. All right. Well, I think that about does it, at least for me. So Catherine, Leslie, Michael, thank you so much for sharing your story, and Amber and NCHE as well for giving us a platform to highlight the work we're doing. We appreciate it and we're grateful. Any final thoughts from the Purdue team?
So again, if you find yourself in West Lafayette, Indiana in the next few months, 12 months, we like meeting new friends. So please stop by the John Martinson Honors College. We'd be happy to connect with you in person.
And we are recording this, so if Catherine doesn't remember you saying that and you just show up to campus, you can just play this back and say, hey, you said it, you know. But I do believe this is going to be posted on the NCHC YouTube channel at some point in the next week or so for you to rewatch or share with colleagues who might have missed it. So make sure you check that out in a week or so to see the recording there. But otherwise, have a great end to the semester. Catherine, Leslie, Michael, and then everyone else who participated today. So have a great rest of your day.